It's really lovely. So you can start your playlist whenever you're ready in for a deep sleep. And this practice is really going to be so mellow. Yeah. Sometimes in yin, we can find ourselves building into this really hot sensation in the body. And I just really do not want that for any of us tonight. I think no one wants that. So great practice for when you need to get cool. You do need to have some floor space, and you may or may not want bolsters and props like that. But if they're going to make you really hot, then you don't have to use them. We're actually going to go ahead and get started straight away in a pose. So Baddha Konasana with the legs, soles of the feet together, knees wide. Create quite a wide diamond shape for this one because we're going to be in it for a while. So heels further away from your hips. As you come down, you're going to put your arms behind your back. The right hand's reaching towards the left side of the waist, left hand's reaching towards the right side of the waist. And as you lower yourself down, core strength is a must here. As you slowly lay back, you're going to end up having your arms pinned underneath your body. When you get there, you may want to shuffle around a little bit. You may want to take a little bit of movement just to allow there to be kind of that perfect sensation for the shoulders to be feeling like they're opening, they're on stretch. If they're too low down, there'll probably be very little to no sensation. But equally, if they're too high up, maybe the sensation is so intense, you're not actually able to really relax in the chest. And the aim here is to have your body weight using its gentle force to slowly press the arms down into the earth. And this in itself is the thing that creates the sensation of stretch. It doesn't matter which arm is on the top or which arm is higher up the back, because you will be switching them over at some point. For now, just breathe here, be here. And as you arrive in your first shape of the evening, we can start to tune into our breath and the rhythm of our breathing here. We can start to enter the process of gently winding back from our day, from our weekend, from whatever's been served up to us, whatever we've walked towards willingly ourselves. Whether it feels like a really positive thing or whether it feels like it's been energetically perhaps a little draining or challenging, whatever it is, just allow yourself to come into this moment and be with your body and yourself exactly as you are and exactly as you feel right now. And if you haven't already, close the eyes. Let the sense of closing the eyes bring in that feeling of being able to relax a little deeper. And as you start to relax a little deeper, notice how the rhythm of your breath kind of levels out, steadies, and maybe even becomes just a little bit longer as well. Perhaps the inhale and the exhale begin to lengthen, and the body enters this state of tranquility, and almost in this sense of meditation. The body right now is in a couple of different spaces of opening. So the sense on the inner thigh, the pelvis, and that external rotation of the femur, the thigh bone. At the same time as the shoulders, the front of the shoulders, that space that gets particularly tight and sticky and that can end up rolling forwards quite a lot. That space there starting to open. The rotator cuff, the chest. And actually the pressure of the body down on the arms, creating this light compression in some of the joints and the hands and the muscles in the arms themselves. So that the yin effect from this really is when you come away from the shape, you get to feel this fizzing sensation, this tingling. We are going to switch the arms around, but you're going to take another 5 breaths here with the arms in this position. You take in your fifth exhalation, or you start to move towards that breath. Just begin to gently wriggle the arms out from underneath you. If you can, try and stay laying down. We're trying not to bring too much heat into the body, so the less movement, the better. And as you wriggle the arms out, you can just take them into a stretch if that feels good. You're going to re-thread the arms underneath your back in the same way, but with a different arm on top. So if your left arm was higher up towards the shoulders, you're going to switch it with the right arm or vice versa. You might need to bend the knees, so you may even need to come away from Baddha Konasana for a minute. It's really like we get to be in the pose twice. We get to experience a sensation twice. Give yourself space to settle in, to breathe. And then start to let go. And you'll take another 5 breaths here in this place, in this shape. Allowing the belly and the body to expand on your inhale and to really soften and let go. We can allow the theme, even from the playlist of Yin for a Deep Sleep, to just weave its way through our practice by committing to this feeling of being so slow. There's no urgency with the movement or the body in any way. On the 5th exhalation, you can start to unravel the arms. And as you draw the knees together, instead of having your arms behind your back in that compressed position, you can pause for a moment with the arms out into a T shape, palms facing the sky. Still resting on the earth though, so you're still really held and you can notice the sensation. And then just getting the arms to be, the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders to be in line with each other. And then just bend at the elbow so you cactus the arms, palms are facing up, backs of the hands to the earth. So that might not be a right angle in the elbow. You may need to be slightly wider than that. Yeah, and the arms might not be able to come all the way up, elbows in line with shoulders. And then from here, you can either lift your feet off the floor, knees tuck to chest, if that's the kind of twist you want to take, or you can simply let the knees just roll over to the left-hand side, okay, from where they are, and come into your laying twist like this. So whatever feels good, minimal movement required or expected. Maximum amount of rest and letting go. And just take a few moments, maybe a couple of sighing out breaths, so the breath leaves through the mouth as you really start to let yourself sink in. to the floor beneath you. And really focus on breathing into the space of the rib cage that's facing the sky above you. Thinking about creating more softness in the body by breathing your way there. Slower, deeper breaths. And staying in this twist on this side for another few moments. Let yourself feel how the weight has changed, how your body has adapted, evolved. Take 5 more breaths here. At your own pace, no rushing, no forcing the breath. And on your 5th exhalation, keep the arms the same if you can. So if you can avoid having to lift your legs with your upper body, then do. And just really slowly start to bring your knees back through the middle, up and over to the right. And as you arrive there, just take a few moments to adjust, because it will feel different when you come into a pose that has 2 kind of sides to it. We do on each side of the body. It will feel different to begin with when we first get there. So just honoring that sensation shift and change. And again, breathing deeply into the side of the body that faces the sky. And you're here for a short while longer. Just allow the breath to deepen your experience and sensation here. And at the same time, notice how the breath is such a regulator for the body that even in oppressive heat and overwhelm, the breath can come in and actually help us to re-regulate and recirculate the feeling of calm, to start to bring us into a much more kind of grounded state of equilibrium. Take 5 more breaths here. 5 more lovely long inhales and exhales to help assist the body in moving deeper and moving towards that sense of rest, recalibration. And slowly on your next breath, or on your 5th exhalation, bring your legs back to center. And as you slowly roll back to center, you can just pause with your feet flat to the earth, onto the cool earth. Let the knees either be together or just straight up to the sky. Feet can be wide, much wider than the hips. Let the front of the body be free from any compression, any extra warmth or heat building. And then when you feel ready to, you can come up to seated however you want to. We're going to come into a seated, straight-legged fold. And there's a few options that you can take when you get there. So however you want to come up to seated, whatever keeps you in that state of ease and calm. So caterpillar pose will either be legs straight and heels a hip distance apart, folding forwards. I know some of us are working with hamstring things. So if you are that person, and even if you're not that person, this is still a really lovely thing to do. You can place the bolster under the backs of the knees, particularly good for those of you who might have more restriction in the hamstrings. And then you can fold the body over. And if you're working with one hamstring that might be feeling a little sensitive, then you can actually bend the knee. Or if you've got an injury, I know some of you again have, you can bend the knee, sole of the foot to the inside of the leg that feels good. And you can fold over just one leg. So you still get the forward fold action and nothing in the hamstring at all, which might be beneficial for those of you that are working with that. So take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, you can just curl yourself forwards. Let yourself fold. There's no holding or kind of gripping with the feet. There's just a sense of almost like floppiness in the body. And just notice for a moment how it feels to come into this place, if you need to take any adjustments yourself. If you feel like there's this real rounding in the lower back, or the tailbone isn't quite free of congestion, then you can pick up the flesh from the sit bones, move it back in a way so you feel a bit more grounded. And your forward hinge will be a little bit less kind of stuck then in that space. You can always sit up onto a light cushion if you feel like that might help. And just let the body fold forward. And I know this might be quite warm because the front of the body might feel a little compressed here, but think about the back of the body and now notice the space around you that doesn't have any compression or any kind of heat building happening. The back of the body, the head, shoulders, the arms are free. And keep softening and softening into this fold. Staying with the body and the breath in this shape. Another 5 deep breaths. I know this one's a little bit more of a challenge. In your 5th exhalation, you can start to unfurl the spine, eventually coming up to seated. Just take a moment with the eyes closed when you arrive there. If the eyes aren't already shut, just allow your body to just be lengthening the spine, feeling the legs in the same position, but without the intensity on the backs of the legs. And then when you're ready to, if you can blink the eyes open, gently remove the bolster from underneath the knees. Take the bolster behind you so it can be along the length of your spine. If you don't have bolster, you can use cushions here. You're going to bend the left knee, taking the heel by the hip. Okay. And so for those of you that have anything going on in the knees, or if this is just really deeply uncomfortable or challenging for the knees or the ankles, sit yourself up onto the bolsters. Your bum is supported. I don't know whether my bolsters are quite long enough for the whole spine, but some bolsters really are. And so if they're not, you can always take a block behind you so that as you come down, even if the knee comes off the floor, that's okay. You've got space. And you can see here, those of you that have got the side profile view particularly, that my hips then aren't trying to be lower than my chest, which takes away the intensity in the knee and allows some springiness and some space there. And all I can do is work on letting my knee come back down towards the floor throughout this pose and the time in it. Back of my head is just about supported enough. But if my head was fully off the back and I was like throat fully exposed to the sky above, I'd want to have something else. If it feels okay to have your bum on the floor though, and that feels good for the back and doesn't cause any discomfort, then you can Allow your bum to be on the earth. It's just right in the deeper sensation straight away from the get-go. And you might need more than one bolster. You may need a few bolsters. You may need some cushions. You might need to build a stack of support here so that you can be in this shape. So just allow your body to do that. And notice the body now as you've started to settle into the shape. We've just moved past the amount of time it usually takes for the body to adapt and for us to feel that we're in a pose rather than just in a temporary stretch. And I know this one can be intense. And so at the beginning, I did say, I don't want to build any real heat in the body. But really, what I mean by that is the poses where we have to really hold ourselves up, where we have to use strength and muscle contraction to be in them. They are really the ones that build so much heat that it's almost intolerable at times. That space of real meeting the end of the comfort zone. And hopefully, if you can get the support of this pose right for you, you can feel like you're able to just gently melt down into the earth. Like you're able to let go of any holding, gripping, or tightness. So just scan the body here as well. Notice the face, the jaw, the chest, the tummy, pelvic floor, hands, feet, even the sit bones. Notice if you're squeezing the glutes, the thigh muscles. And then as you've noticed those places and you've begun maybe to soften in more space within you, can you allow the breath to deepen so that as the belly rises and falls, there's this feeling of expanse, a feeling of softening. Maybe there's more sensation in the body. Maybe that knee has come to the earth. Maybe the tidal wave of intensity in the shape has passed. And although often encouraged to move back into sensation once you've kind of moved past it, there's still so much happening in the body here, in a place where we're not constantly seeking that sensation. Give yourself 5 more breaths here in this shape. 5 more inhales and exhales, allowing yourself to explore the sensation that you're in, or maybe the no sensation, maybe just the being. And your 5th exhalation, give yourself the space and the time to gently start to use your arms to bring you up and out of the pose, shifting the weight onto your right side so that your left leg may be released. And then coming over to the other side. Allowing the right knee to bend, same thing, but different. You might need to shuffle your bolster as well, depending on how your body moves when it lays down. You may find you need to have the bolster slightly over to one side so that the body weight, as it shifts, lands in that perfect center point. And as you start to come back, if for any reason this pose is starting to feel too much, or on this side it doesn't work, and another alternative is child's pose, with or without the bolster for support. So be mindful that might be a little bit warmer if it feels okay on the knees to come there. With the bolster for support in child's pose, if that's what you choose, you'll have a little less pressure actually on the knees, and the knee isn't just in one, it isn't just one knee taking that intensity. Just allowing yourself to settle wherever you've come to. Noticing at the start, there is always that feeling of resistance in the body as it meets a pose that might bring it discomfort and challenge. And again, just do the internal scan now that we're in the space of moving past just the superficial stretch and actually into holding in the shape. Do the scan of the body, notice any places that might be tightening and holding. As you start to soften in all of those places in the body, or at least noticing the whole of the body here. Again, bring attention to the breath in the pose. And begin to notice how you can expand and soften the inhale, the exhale as you breathe. And you're here for another 5 breaths. And on your 5th exhalation, however you wish to rise up and out of the shape that you are in, begin the process. And then once the leg has extended, come to lay straight back down again, just so that you can pause in the sensation there. Take your time, no need to rush. Just notice the feeling in the right leg, the left leg, the back, the front of the body. Feeling as if you've bent the knees, the soles of the feet on the floor. And if you haven't bent the knees, the feeling of the soles of the feet just in space. And then from this place, you're going to lift the hips and we come into legs in the air pose, because in this weather, when things start to heat up, this is exactly the kind of shape we want to be taking to just re-regulate any kind of stagnation or build-up or feelings of swelling, especially in the lower limbs, especially if you're anything like me and you're then spending a lot more time outdoors on your feet and in different footwear or no footwear. So use the bolster to support the pelvis. It might take a little bit of wriggling around to get there, but it's so worth it when you do. And then let the feet come to the sky. Allow the hands to rest wherever feels good. And give yourself a moment here to settle in. Feeling that sense of the blood flow and the energy drawing away from the feet, away from the ankles, the lower legs, and pulling towards the center of the body. Just keep letting the breath move through the body. And even if the temptation to bring the legs down is there, just try to keep them elevated. You can even rest them against the wall or the back of the sofa or even onto a chair or something, anything that will help to keep the legs up. And if you feel like the legs are struggling with the elevation, this might be just due to the position of your bolster. So play around with pulling the bolster a little bit more out from underneath you so that it's only just supporting the hips. It almost feels like the legs are tipping over the top of you. You can even play around here with keeping the feet relaxed like they are and not bending the knees or changing anything about the way that the legs are, but simply just turning the toes and the thighs outwards and then back in. So it's like you're trying to rotate the thigh bone in the hip socket. As the feet turn out, external rotation. As the feet turn in, internal rotation. And just notice the feeling and sensation there in the hips and the pelvis as you take that movement. Really subtle, but actually very powerful to move like this without any weight going through the legs. Just literally your truest range of motion here without any forcing, any pressure. Your natural. You might notice that one way is slightly easier than the other, that your toes either turn out or inwards a lot more. It's very normal to have a pelvis that does one thing easier than the other. And this might tell you a little bit more. So a little nugget of information. It might tell you a little bit more about your body and your yoga practice. So if internal rotation, when you turn your toes in here, feels easier, this will make things like forward folding with wide legs a little bit more challenging, but things like pigeon pose might be a bit more accessible. Okay, and if your toes turn out and if that feels easier than turning them in, that means that wide leg forward folds, anything like goddess or warrior two, anything where the hips are open, Baddha Konasana, a little bit more satisfying. But things like straight leg forward fold, or perhaps even reclined hero and even child's pose, a little bit more challenging. Just, it's not always an exact science. There's many other anomalies in the body, and of course, over and under compensation of certain tendons, ligaments, and muscles. But it's good to know your body. Very good to know your body. Know its patterns, know what it's capable of, know where its limitations are. And taking the feet into steadiness here. Just pausing for 5 more breaths. Then slowly begin to bend the knees. There might be a real tingling sensation as you bring the feet down, so just pause and be with that for a moment. Notice the feeling of elevation in the hips. Your hips are still on the bolster, knees are bent, feet are flat to the earth, and there's this feeling of fizzing, maybe throbbing, definite big sensation. Then you can peel the hips up off the bolster, slide the bolster, wriggle it down. And as the back of the body comes to the earth, move the bolster down so it can support underneath the knees. And if you're not using a bolster, you don't have to be. You can just allow the legs to come out wide. Arms can come out wide, palms face up. And let your body settle down into the earth beneath you here. Taking any last little or big movements that you might need. Allowing the breath to regulate. And noticing the entire body resting here on the earth beneath you. And the contrast in sensation of the front body to the back body, the anterior, the posterior. Noticing the feeling of being held by the earth beneath you. And the lightness and ease of the sky above you. Notice your arms and your legs, the pelvis, the spine, and the head. And in this next moment or two, just allow the body to completely let go of any place which it might still be trying to grip. Just encourage it to do so. Anywhere that might be trying to hold still. And take your mind down to the feet, both left foot and right foot. Notice the toes, the soles of the feet, and the tops of the feet. And notice how the feet naturally fall out and turn out. The heels of the feet heavy on the earth beneath you too. The lower legs, backs of the calves and the shins. The heaviness in the lower legs, both left leg and right. The knees, both left knee, right knee. Front of the knees and the back, underbelly of the knee as well. The thighs, the front of the thighs, and the backs of the thighs. The tops of the legs really heavy. And notice the whole of your pelvis. The whole pelvis resting really heavy into the earth beneath you. The spine and each vertebrae heavy and relaxed, and the belly soft, moving in rhythm with your breath. The lungs and the rib cage, gentle rhythm, but sense of heaviness. The chest relaxed. The tops of both shoulders completely relaxed and heavy. The upper arms, the elbow joints, the forearms, the wrists, front and backs of hands, all fingers, the throat, noticing the head, the place of contact, the head and the floor, and the face, softening, letting go. The whole body completely relaxing. You are simply observing. Allow your body to slowly begin to breathe its way back into the present moment. There might be some yawns or some deep sighing breaths that need to leave the body. Allow yourself to expand and soften in a way that feels really comfortable and easy for you, and begin your gentle reconnection and a slow reconnection to the here and now through subtle movements, bigger breaths, whatever allows you to stay with that theme of sleepiness, of coolness. Maybe now, an hour on, the air is just feeling that little bit cooler. Allow yourself to slowly make your way to seated, and there's absolutely no rush. And keep your eyes closed as you journey back to where we all met first on Zoom, in our seat, in the space in our seat. Bring our hands together in prayer. Thumbs to third eye. And together this evening, we'll seal our practice with a vow of love, of honor, and of respect, remembering that we are all connected. We are one. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. If she can stop the